Yeah, we are live now.
Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this very interesting second episode of ONDC Live. Here, I'm joined with two of the most distinguished leaders in India on digital commerce industry, Mr. T. Koshy, who is the MD CEO of ONDC, and Ms. Vani Kola, who is the Managing Director of Kalaari Capital. I think it's my utmost pleasure to host both of them on this episode today. Please stay tuned as we deep dive into the e-commerce space and understand how ONDC and Kalari are enabling commerce without boundaries. And it's a very, very interesting concept. Requesting audiences to please put their questions in the chat. We will be taking up questions at the end of the session as per the time, as the time permits. So to start off the session, I would first like to address my first question, my first ask from Mr. Koshi. Koshi, so before we dive into the ONDC specifically throughout the session, what I want to understand from you is that what are the gaps do you see in India's current digital e-commerce system? What challenges persist despite of digital transformation that we've seen up till now?
Thank you, Rajita, and thank you, Wani, for being here. So, the way I will look at the the challenges in the e-commerce, I also see this as an opportunity in future. Is that while most of us who might be on this call are heavy users of digital commerce, if you really look at the penetration of digital commerce as a percentage of the total commerce that's taking place, it's still in single digit, 6 to 7%, maybe on the buy side. And when you go on the sell side, is even much smaller, 2 to 3%. We have crores of businessmen, enterprises in this country, but only a very 2 to 3% of them are really participating in digital commerce. And that is because the current mode of platform-based models that is prevalent in India as well as many parts tend to concentrate the buyers into certain segments who are relatively well-off segments of the society, and then the sellers to be selling products which are more relevant to them, as well as which is more convenient for the platform which are operators. So unlike the physical world, where we encourage open innovation and open competition and with diverse participation, with possibility for small artisans to street vendors to large multinational players compete equally and make their products available to the larger market. Today, digital commerce is limited to a small segment, and as we go forward with more and more people becoming digitally savvy, digital familiar, and digital comfortable, it means that a large percentage of the merchants and sellers can get dropped out of the market itself, which is a big challenge for us, specifically for a country like ours, where a significant part of the GDP come from small and micro businesses. So that is the challenge that I see today.
Thank you so much, Koshi sir. I think that is quite insightful. My next question, before we get into a proper launch for the report that Kalari and ONDC has done, is from Vani ma'am. Ma'am, how has been the journey that has evolved from a traditional retail to current digital commerce right now? What are the key inflection points that have shaped this, transformation as per you? You are a veteran in the industry, so we want to look at it from your point of view that what has happened and how it's evolved.
Thank you, Rachita, and welcome to all the audience we have here. And Mr. Koshi sir, I think what you've done with ONDC is amazing. And who would have thought, say, even a decade and a half ago, that we would be building these kind of public infrastructures to equalize commerce and make opportunity inclusive, which with a country of 1.4 billion, we absolutely need to find a ways to build inclusive economies. But when we at Kalaari started investing in e-commerce in around 2008, 2009, India's retail landscape was, of course, dominated largely by local markets, local merchants, which is still the case from a majority perspective. But the major transformation for e-commerce I saw in two waves, in the 2010, 2012 wave, and then the 2015, 2016 wave. And beginning with, of course, the rise of e-commerce marketplaces, and I think their relevance to bring large supply and also a kind of consumer experience that Indian consumer wanted but didn't have from local retail, be that be returns policies or ability um, uh, buy anything from anywhere. So early on, Kalaari backed companies like Bluestone, Snapdeal, Myntra, Zivame, and many other e-commerce marketplaces. And penetration of e-commerce was non-existent, and it was time of more focus on organized retail. But the main inflection point, though they were all early experiments in solving some key challenges in infrastructure, was with obviously API. With the rise of digital payment, I think the trust barriers on digital transaction went away, right? And of course, we all know today there are 172 billion UPI transactions that happened last year. So that's tremendous digital, how should I say, onboarding that we have seen as a country. And likewise, I think there was a significant shift in delivery and logistics maturity in the infrastructure with many models, whether that's the long haul or the last mile or on demand. I think we have solved those problems in ways that are different from the first world nations, if you will. So I think one point that's also important is all of this technology mapping, serendipitously, we can say, with the rise in interest to offer risk capital to people who didn't have any demonstrated uh, experience of building large businesses. So if you see the rise of venture capital, which tends to favor first time entrepreneurs, which tends to favor innovation into emerging markets, of course they are highly risky. But with the rise of domestic investors like Kalaari and many of our friends in the industry that have started and enabled the growth of the venture ecosystem. With that, the second inflection in capital was also that India saw unprecedented growth capital, global growth capital coming into the country to fund some of these models. So this ecosystem was able to scale, bringing these promising ideas to market. Now, of course, the D2C revolution, where brands are not only selling online, we have many, many models, but the social media and digital first strategies has allowed for a inclusive playing field of building new brands, because before you had to have significant distribution networks. So what is next, right? So maybe the most significant shift is yet to come, the Bharat digitization, if you will, right? Obviously, we know India has over 1 billion internet subscribers, and 400 million of them are from rural areas. There is quick commerce today for everything, dark stores, cloud and warehousing infrastructure. So I think from groceries to electronics to fashion to everything, I think commerce is, I feel, poised for another significant pivot from sort of the largely tier one to Bharat.
That's wonderful, ma'am. And I think I would like to thank both of you for those insights. And before moving ahead, also I would like to mention that in this entire journey of venture capitalists being supportive of the startups all through, and how Kalari has given that support to all the startups. It's been quite commendable and also quite discussed on the forum per se. Now, speaking of India's evolving digital commerce landscape, we at ONDC had the privilege of getting an early look at a new report that Kalaari Capital has done that examines this transformation, to greater depths and, for people to understand a very sector-specific report. Vani ma'am, I would like to invite you now to officially launch the ONDC Commerce Without Boundaries report and share what motivated Kalari to develop this comprehensive analysis, and also just to take us through that how the sector is evolving and how, what role, ONDC is kind of portraying in it. So overall scenario of ONDC Commerce Without Boundaries. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rachita. I'm quite excited actually with this report. At Kalari, we have always believed in championing the Indian startup ecosystem and funding founders with transformative ideas for the future. This report represents our effort to share critical insights and support entrepreneurs who aspire to build on the ONDC network. As we just discussed over the past 2 decades, Kalari has had the privilege of not just witnessing but actively participating in India's digital evolution. And with each wave of innovation, significant new possibilities to unlock new markets emerge. And today, India's digital journey is far from over. We are just at the early milepost on this. ONDC offers and represents the new frontier in the commerce transformation over the last 2 to 3 years. Our many interactions with the excellent team at ONDC and also Mr. Koshy and the visionary work you're doing, we thought that maybe we can offer something to that, contribute something for that by making our insights and more public and offer it to the broader entrepreneurial community. So, wherever there is a democratic foundation, it always spurs economy. And I think ONDC, with the foundation it offers for digital commerce and the promise of making markets more accessible to every seller, small or large, and more inclusive for every buyer, whether that's a small kirana store or large D2C brands, this kind of democratization of commerce is what India needs in its next phase of digital growth. And these were the inspirations for us to put some effort into building this report together. When e-commerce began, many people believed it would not work in India. Yet today, that skepticism has been proven wrong by many innovative models that are built for India and have emerged for India for others to take note. We now have a very active transacting population, and I believe that we will create more transformative commerce model that, of course, propels India's economy, but also can influence global markets. So, what makes India truly unique is this fascinating duality. We have high digital penetration existing alongside a vast network of local merchants, right? This is not a disadvantage, but rather our strength. The coexistence of digital and hyperlocal commerce creates very interesting opportunities and can redefine how commerce has been conceptualized online in other countries. So I think we have the opportunity to ensure we protect both the needs of the buyers but also the livelihoods of the sellers. This is where I believe ONDC really provides a platform that can offer an inclusive ecosystem that works for all the participants. And today, India's e-tail penetration just stands at 4.3%. But this number becomes particularly striking when we look at the vast digital user base, right? I think this gap represents that unprecedented opportunity, but it also calls for a very different approach to how we look at it. So, India's future economic growth, I don't believe, lies in building few monopolies. Instead, it lies in the inclusive models that can empower 80% of our retail sector that remains unorganized and shift our perspective on how we can catalyze it in a way that is that benefits all stakeholders and participants, right? To me, the ONDC approach, when I had first heard of it, and as I mentioned, the subsequent, uh, involvement and interactions we have had with the full ecosystem beyond the ONDC team, it allows us to reimagine digital commerce by a few key principles, right? The open architecture, which allows for a seller, regardless of size, to reach buyer across the country. The uh, you know, especially for small businesses and local sellers who have something unique to offer, there isn't an effective, cost effective, I mean, way to participate in the digital economy today. And I think that's what matters. So, looking at the ONDC ecosystem, we think that there are still a few promising white spaces open for entrepreneurs to both build for the market needs and also bring technology capabilities, which is also one of the reasons for offering this report to the market. But before we explore the opportunities, Mr. Koshy, I must say that what truly resonates for us at Kalaari is your vision for this inclusive growth to happen. And as large players enter the ONDC network, it's more crucial than ever to stay true to the foundational principle of being inclusive to all sellers, whether that's small kiranas or large brands. And in this context, given your unique vantage point of conceptualizing and overseeing ONDC's growth with various stakeholders, I'd be interested in hearing your perspective. What are some of the pressing needs for the acceleration of this network, and what is the more importantly opportunity for entrepreneurs they should consider prioritizing to create maximum impact on the network while maintaining spirit of inclusivity and yet building highly viable businesses that can be venture funded? I'd love to hear your perspectives before we launch the report.
Thank you, thank you, Vani. You have put together the opportunities and challenges that digital commerce in India is faced with, and you have made a very important point from which I would like to build further. Is the idea of unbundling and interoperability, which means that instead of few large enterprises giving the completely integrated services, which is also controlling the market, that we give the opportunity for a broader participation coming from very innovative minds providing innovative solution for different segments. So as I can see that you have pointed out, the first element for any businesses to take a position in the digital market is how well they present their products and their services. And the way it is left to the imagination of the seller to say what is the best way he can show its value proposition. So, but the thing is, many sellers, especially the thousands of or millions of small merchants who have very innovative solutions, may not be the best in making their imagination to a digital reality, presenting it in a digital fashion. So that is where the new emerging technologies like AI can be a real help. Imagine that I am a specialized weaver who has got some outstanding products that that will have a the demand anywhere in not just India, anywhere in the world. But today, I'm not the best one to make a very exciting the storyline about the catalog about it, about some bringing some fashion statement with this. Whereas and then there could be some smart startups who could come out with some AI-driven solution that makes it very easy and very intuitive for me, with the help of these tools, to sort of present my products to a variety of user segments. Probably, the kind of innovation that will have on the buying side of the open network, where different kind of buying application come to curate the product for their kind of segments. It is also important that I, as a seller, is also able to make these kind of different feeds possible for different segments, which is being catered to by different buying application. So that's why the unbundling gives humongous opportunity for innovation and specialization. So in something like cataloging on one side. Second is the as Wani just pointed out, we have a large cross section of people who are now present in the digital world, but a good percentage of them are not best savvy in in English. And in a country like India, we have um, you know 23 languages, and dialects are so many. So the and the culturally also we are very very diverse. As somebody will say that we have 300 ways of making potato sabjis. So that cultural diversity is something that we need to identify, and we need specialized interfaces addressing these kind of stuff without making it very very expensive. So if there is one monolith of a platform which is trying to address all of them, they will always focus on where the the low hanging fruits, or where they can maximize their interest. Whereas if you find let's say that a startup coming from Chennai say that I'm going to create a buying interface that is focused at helping Tamilians to choose whatever that is culturally relevant for them from anywhere in India. Imagine that kind of a surface. The one of the biggest challenge today that he will face is that he will have to go and tie up with all the sellers, and sitting as a startup in Chennai, he may not even know how many such sellers are available in Delhi, or in or Jammu, or even in Bombay. Whereas in an open network world, he can be sure that these sellers will come find their ways of being present in the network through some other innovative enterprises like him coming locally. He only needs to give that interface for the buyer to sort of express their need in their language. Maybe some of them may not be even comfortable to type out or write something. Maybe they would like to give a voice based instruction of what they would like to have. So these kind of thing, may, meeting the requirement of very very diverse set of population, will come as specialized application meeting the require for a segment, a segment of buyers, as against the world where one or two enterprises create some standardized cookie cutter solutions, and where they're expecting that every buyer will tune into their habit and become like a sort of trained robot, like who are dancing as per the tune decided by one or two people or one or two enterprises, as against the diversity of culture that is available here. So that's why I believe that an open network will really encourage proliferation and market access to the diversity of talents that we have in our country, instead of trying to get ready-made fabrics and ready-made stuff coming from few large factories. And the third one that I will again say in the same fashion is that the commerce is not just about making a product. Commerce, to be successful, have different building blocks. Like we said, making a product, packaging them effectively, having good catalogs, having good documentation, having logistics to take the stuff available, having the market access to people from all across, warehousing. All of them are building blocks. So if you really look at in a country, in the physical market, most of these building blocks are very very fragmented. If take one simple example, let's say I am a kirana store, I'm a store, and or a restaurant. If with only three shops in, let's say, in a town, And if I need to if I get demand from across the city, either I have to have choto in my building, I mean, in my restaurant, which is not very possible. How many chotos will I employ? I am restricted by the number of people I can employ as chotos. Or if I have to become a part of the larger network who will give me a complete integrated service at a price, which also restrict my visibility to my buyers and so on and so forth. Imagine each of these building blocks are available as a service on the network, which you can buy. Imagine you are a kirana stores, you get a demand for or a restaurant for a demand for a product from 3 kilometers away. You don't have a choto there. Imagine that you will be able to log into ONDC network and buy a logistic service at the most competitive rate, because this logistic service is available as a service across the network with standard conditions. He doesn't even have to go and negotiate and do something, negotiate and have into a deal and digital integration and call up all up. He just place an order for a logistic service from my shop to my client, which is 3 kilometers away. With very clear standard conditions, I can buy that service. Imagine that completely changes my confidence, my visibility. So what we believe is that this is going to happen. This is not just a vision and a theory. We already demonstrated that in the hyperlocal logistics in the last 8 months. When we made hyperlocal logistics as a service available on the network through one of the providers who took a big leap of faith, like Ola, and we made logistics as a service available on the network. Initially, when we started that in April last year, we had only one or few hundred orders coming. But in the last 6 months, daily online logistics demand has reached 60 to 70,000 orders a day. And it is not just for transaction that is happening, that consummated in the ONDC network. About 10% of this is some general people, business people just buying logistics as a service. It is just an example. Similarly, we believe that many such building blocks, logistics, warehousing, packaging, credit, insurance, all these things will be available on the network as a whole as a sachetized product for the buyers and sellers, increasing the confidence. I think that is going to drive imagination wild, because we are only in the early stages. In the next few years, you will see many of them coming with imaginative solutions, many of them succeeding and some of them failing. That is how the market works. Market is all about creative destruction, and that the opportunity is not is about one or two enterprises with billions of dollars coming and doing, trying to do everything that is best for the larger commerce. But it is about many people trying out something innovative, some succeeding and some failing, and the one that is most relevant succeeding. And that's a thought I wanted to say. And then when ONDC has now, as you saw, you'll see the kind of traction that is happening. And when we started, in a way, in December, we had in January 23, when we had made it available few pin codes in Bangalore, we had only 1,000 transactions. And last December, in 1 year's time, we saw it coming to about 5 million transactions. And this December, we have seen it going to 15 million transactions, which is practically 3 times in 1 year time. And totally, we have done about 16 crore orders in the last 2 years that we have there. And we believe that it is, it's just building its momentum with more and more very, very interesting enterprises, from financial sector to gaming sector and so on and so forth, coming to take and experiment and take positions. And I'm sure that we will see a lot more such innovative, interventions in the near future. Over to you, Ani. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Koshy, for that detailed and insightful explanation and encouragement. As always, we are excited to partner with founders who share this vision you outlined and building solutions that can accelerate Bharat commerce. For anyone interested in being part of this journey, whether you're an entrepreneur, investor, or industry participant, I think there is this collaborative report launched by Kalaari and ONDC, I think has something, that's worth considering from insights and learnings. You can download the report by scanning the QR code on the screen. Inside, you'll find an analysis of how the ONDC platform could potentially transform the 300 plus billion market opportunity that is projected in e-commerce by 2030. And numbers are one thing, but we try to go beyond the numbers to share stories on how this transformation is already happening. And, yet there is still tremendous opportunity ahead. Of course, no ecosystem is built in isolation. So we really look forward to hearing your perspective and working with entrepreneurs who are building in this space. I think this report for me truly stands to the testament of the inclusive and collaborative spirit of the ONDC ecosystem. While we at Kalaari have put this report by structuring the insights, the real substance comes from the groundbreaking work that the ONDC team has done and the valuable perspectives they've shared, but also the perspectives we had the privilege of receiving from buyers and sellers who are pioneering commerce on the network. I want to particularly acknowledge Girish, founder of Shopperlist, one of our portfolio companies at Kalaari. But independent of that, of course, he's focused on building on ONDC. His first-hand experience has been instrumental also in shaping some of our perspectives and thoughts we have presented in this report. I hope this report serves the purpose we envision, which is to become a valuable resource for entrepreneurs and all participants in the ecosystem who share our enthusiasm for building inclusive digital commerce in India. So with that, I want to take a moment to thank you, Mr. Koshy, and and to the audience. Apart from this QR code, it will also be available on our website. So if you forgot, you can always go to Kalaari website and ONDC to be able to access the report.
Yeah, I think, ma'am, there are a lot of questions also that are popping up on a channel. But before I take up those questions, I think, and there has been a good, enthusiastic response also that we are seeing currently. But there are just one last question that I want to kind of address to both of you. First to you, ma'am, and then to Koshy sir, and then we'll take up audience questions. You've been speaking about NDC supporting startups. Koshy sir also spoke about it. So now Kalaari is coming up with this report. So what is the advice that you think you would want to give to the entrepreneurs who are now building on ONDC? Because there are some specific entrepreneurs who are kind of working specifically for ONDC coming on board on ONDC network. What is that one piece of advice that you, from your rich experience, would want to give to them so that they can follow and they can be successful?
See, having partnered with founders over the years, I think it requires a certain unique mindset and approach when you're building a platform business and one that requires collaborative innovation versus monopolizing and figuring out how to kill competition, so to speak, right? So unlike traditional commerce models where you need to build entire platforms and your ability to do that, and by definition your ability to access that kind of capital and longevity to be not profitable, that's a certain mindset of monopoly colonizing, let's say. But ONDC is a different kind of a platform where you will succeed if you solve specific problems exceptionally well. And some of that was discussed already, whether that's AI-driven cataloging or supply chain optimization. You can pick a layer, but you have to build a deep solution. So some of the most, and in general also this is true, some of the most successful companies We are back, started solving a precise problem, and of course over time they expand. But I think just being good at something, I think, is very important. I also think one has to think scale in something like this from the beginning, like a Bharat scale, right? Um, whether you're catering to urban India, English speaking, or you're catering to small manufacturers and local service providers, or whether you're looking at language needs of a language based needs addressed to a specific audience, like the example Mr. Koshy gave. I think that clarity of needs and constraints have to be factored into solutions very, very specifically. So I see this game very differently from traditional e-commerce in terms of the founder mindset, right? They have to work in a shared network, and that drastically reduces customer acquisition cost. But remember, the old commerce was all about how you how once you acquired customer, the high customer acquisition cost was really the barrier. So which means here, while capital is important, capital intensive moats are no longer the recipe for winning strategy. So instead of simply burning capital on user acquisition, entrepreneurs need to focus on innovative value addition. So perhaps the what should I call it, product led entrepreneur may succeed here far better than a sort of a sales and a market capital led entrepreneur of a decade or 2 decades ago, as far as commerce goes. And opportunities are endless, whether you uh, imagine insights into user experience or specific embedded technologies. The winners won't be, as I said, just those who are capable of raising most capital, but that know how to create most value for the network as a preferred product or service, right? So, and also when you're building finally for an evolving ecosystem like ONDC, which is still in its early stages, and new protocols which will invariably evolve, the winners need to be able to very quickly adapt and iterate based on ground reality. So these are maybe some of the intangible attributes Kalaari would look for in funding founders, and we are enthusiastic to find seed idea stage founders to build for this network and do what we do, which is to bring our insights, resources, and capital support. But uh, every market has a certain founder market fit, okay? And we have to really, entrepreneurs really need to think about what it takes to build on a integrated network like ONDC versus a closed network like traditional marketplaces.
That's wonderful because this also opens up a lot of opportunities for ONDC or for entrepreneurs who are coming onto the ONDC network. So thank you so much for that, ma'am. Koshy sir, before I take up the audience questions, I think one thing that we all would like to know from you is ONDC has grown really well. The way, I mean, we've just seen in the deck also. So looking ahead 5 years, if you were to kind of see that, what would success look like for ONDC? What is the vision that ONDC is working with? And how does this entire report with Kalaari actually, fits into the entire vision that we are looking for ONDC? So just a few last words from you, sir.
Thank you. We heard fantastic exposition by Wali with respect to the real market opportunity, and I will thankful her for her because it's not a biased CEO of ONDC sitting and pontificating, but it's rather a smart woman who has been investing in diverse, innovative enterprises across the world, who has now taken a, who and this organization has taken a deeper insight to this completely new evolving opportunity and come and and encourage the entrepreneurs to take positions there by compiling a lot of insightful messages into a fabulously curated report, so that the entrepreneurs can use from here. And also, she has also said how various investing enterprises from venture capitalists and so on and so forth will look at the how they would like to participate and partner with founders. I think that is a humongous you know endorsement to this idea. So this idea, as I told you, is and very often I say that, is that what will happen in 5 to 6 years time when this become very ubiquitous, is that we expect that every product or service which is catalogable should make themselves visible in the ONDC network using this protocol. I mean, it should be as common as every business enterprise today have a website to disseminate information. All of them have a social media presence to interact with their clients. But similarly, they should all have their presence in the ONDC network directly or through some aggregator to make commerce possible, to help the buyers to make a buy decision on after discovering their products. So once that is there, we will see a humongous amount of innovation happening on the buying side, with different kind of buying surfaces coming to help their clients to buy whatever that is relevant as a buyer's agent, not as a seller's agent. So when I'm sure that the platform which I am familiar with, the application which I am comfortable with, is looking after my interest, and to look at the products and services relevant to my segment of people with my taste, my liking, my cultural moving, and so on and so forth, and help to identify and select things which are more suitable for me, not because they feel that they have a deal with them. That way, the buying surfaces become the agent of the buyers. Selling surfaces become the agent of the sellers to make the products visible in a very fair and transparent fashion. And that is how we believe that the commerce will transform. So in that way, it will become as ubiquitous. If you remember, that kind of unbundling is what changed in the payment side. Today, 10 years ago, India used to have the least amount of digital transaction. And we never thought that we will reach anywhere near, somewhere average country in the world. Today, the number of digital payment transaction happens more than that's happened in rest of the in practically all the big countries together. We do something like 40-45% of the transaction. Even the largest of them come nowhere near. That is possible because of this unbundling and the payment side, and we believe that kind of things should happen. So I would rather expect the success will be such ubiquitous presence, and thus making the digital commerce, like from the current 6 to 7% or whatever that has been seen for India, to it should be much more than what you will see even for the developed world. Because when there is, even many of the developed world digital commerce is, based on the platform centric approach, where it is focused on certain sellers and certain buyers. Whereas here it will be different, large number of participation as a community, bringing their best expertise together. I think that should become, commerce should become as ubiquitous as information sharing or as email. And that's the vision and the dream that we are working for.
That's fabulous, and I think now I will open the floor for audience questions. I have a couple of them already with me. So, Koshy sir, there are actually a lot of questions coming on, but the first one that I would like to take is there's a question which says buyer apps are where customers are first exposed to the power of ONDC. In this increasingly competitive space, what are the key differentiators that will allow a buyer app to stand out? It would be great to hear your views on this, sir.
Okay, so I would not claim to be the best expert to take the entrepreneurial decision, but I will say something that is there in my mind. Okay, the buyer apps, the way I look at is, I will broadly break them into two. One is really startups who are coming out with some very unique ideas. That means they were not in the business of providing any service in the digital form to any consumers till now. Okay, it could be a pure startup coming out of college, or it could be a completely new business being set up by somebody. That is one segment of potential buying application. I'm just making very broad classification. The other could be enterprises with large digital consumers in a completely different world. Okay. So I gave the example in the first one of a startup coming from, let's say, Chennai, trying to develop a buying interface for people, or Tamilians to get the best from anywhere in India, irrespective of where he stays. He could be living in Delhi, and he should be able to, find out where is the, for his Punul, Kalyanam, where is the, place where I can go and get the ideal veshti from in Chandri Chowk. And a startup normally who's based out of Chennai would not be able to find out neither the seller nor the address of the seller. Whereas now he has to only help Koshy sitting in Delhi to sort of search in that network and find that kind of merchant is available in Chandni Chowk. I'm just giving an example. Or it could be somebody different. Let's say look at somebody like a new buying application. I'll give you two examples on diverse kind of thing. One of the new buying application just being launched and in the early pilot stages, through their strategic alliances, Bajaj Financials. They're in the business what? Providing credit and EMI and helping people to buy, as a possibility. But now they have an appropriate strategic alliance to be there in the buying side of the ONDC network. They're saying that, hey, now I can tell my clients, who millions of people who come for my normal products credit, I can tell them, hey, I can help you to buy many things that you might be interested in. And now that if you're interested in some of the high value items, then, okay, I can also club my EMI card with that. I'm just giving an example. Okay. So I'm not suggesting that is the best way for them to do. I'm sure that they'll be thinking through all of them. Or somebody like Ola, which already demonstrated. He said, I have people who are coming for ride hailing. I'm going to help them to buy food. So when they sit in the cab and they say, by the time I reach home, I should have a burger waiting for me at home. He demonstrated, he found confident, and now he's gone into grocery. Okay. And say that, okay, also make your buying decision while you're sitting in the car for your tomorrow's, grocery requirement. So, or it could be a gaming company who would say that stay back in the gaming while you are at game. Two things. One is you want to order pizza. Don't go out to another buying application. I can help you to scan a QR code there. Or maybe with a smarter technological tool. Hey, you like the the device that guy is using to communicate with other. You want to have a similar device. Click on that product on the gaming surface itself, and give you a offer from the device supply. Imagine those things become a part of the game itself. So it's a completely innovative way of doing. So what are the key drivers? How can you be innovative in making your segment of customers interested in what you want to offer? And that's how you'll differentiate.
That are great insights, sir. The handle is coming up with a lot of questions. I'll take one more for you, sir, Koshy sir. Uh, the question says
Regina,
that since
Regina, I think you should ask a lot more questions to Vani, who's our guest, because I'm always available for you. Because otherwise you would be hearing the standard stereotype answers from Koshi. But I would like to see innovative and out of the box thinking coming from people looking from outside. I mean, just a suggestion.
of course, of course. There's this question that has come up, Vani ma'am, if you want to take it up. It says, what's your view of existing brands or D2C companies? How should they look at ONDC?
I mean, if you're an existing brand, what do you need to achieve? You need to achieve reaching more customers, assuming that you want to expand. And you're going to explore every channel. History always teaches us some interesting insights. Retailers who built hybrid models and moved online, experimented online, learned and fine tuned their models, actually, saw the payout and significant advantages. I remember early in building the Mintra network, right? Some of the large brands were not that interested in being seen online. They didn't think that would fit their brand experience. Wrong, of course. But interestingly, Puma was one of the earliest brands in shoes that went online. And within a couple of years, they found that actually within a few months, online was doing more than any single store, right? And if you look at the cost of a store versus cost of online, so, and they put a lot of energy behind then going online. So whether you're an existing company or a new company, you always have to be open to disruptive forces, and you have to be learning from early on, not when the game is over or game is more mature rather. So I would suggest that get on the platform. It won't be the same as business as usual, right? So much like some retailers succeeded going online, some didn't. Even in US, the famous example that Amazon and Target partner, Target being a very large retailer, and then Target then, after the early experiment, which of course isn't ever going to be perfect, they said, oh, this online business is useless and we'll just stick to what we are great at offline. But uh, to undo that after a decade, as a inevitable uh, uh, you know uh, choice they had to make from the wrong decision a decade back, costs you more, and you're starting from 10 feet, 10 steps behind, and may be able to catch up or may not be able to catch up. So I think it's important for every brand to invest into new platforms, new places where you can reach customers you haven't been able to reach easily. So I hope that was the question that was being asked. If for existing brands, if this is relevant, you'll find out, but you have to work to find that out, not wait to find that out.
Vani ma'am, they
Yeah.
were also asking whether, what will you think with respect to D2C? One is existing brands, many of the new innovation happening in D2C. What do you think they could also consider as?
To me, D2C is an existing brand. It's just to me, a brand is a brand. Channel is how you are reaching, whether you're reaching them as digital first or retail only, or you're reaching them in some hybrid model. To me, those are just channels of reaching your customers, or you're reaching through some pyramid marketing. It doesn't matter. You have to think your brand, you have to think your customer, and you have to think the pipe. The pipe is the channel, right? So the only thing that matters to you is, what does your brand stand for? What are your aspirations? Who are your customers? And where can you understand your customers the best, right? And what is an efficient pipe, which is the channel or the platform or technology, whatever you want to call it. Be present everywhere and in every way that you can cost efficiently meet your customer needs. So that's why, to me, I don't box D2C into one box and a retail into another box, because retailers will go online, and when you get big D2C, meaning just a place where you started meeting your customer, you'll also go into other channels, right? I mean, you'll go into some offline, maybe it's only an experience store. So don't get locked into the channel. Channels will continue to evolve. You may have never thought somebody is going to order your phone on Blinkit or whatever, even if you're Chroma, right? You will have to be able to be on evolving platforms. So think about ONDC as a efficient platform to reach your customer. And when there are emerging platforms, you have to experiment early, because there's an evolution to maturity of every platform. And if you are in the process of leading that evolution, and make that your sandbox, you have certain first mover advantages.
Yeah, perfectly. I mean, that obviously is works in the favor of these brands and D2C brands as well.
And,
Well,
and the one thing is, the D2C brands typically are on a product power, right? They may lack capital for distribution, or even the how should I say, experience and knowledge. They may be passionate about something. I think somebody was mentioning organic food, let's just say, in the chat. So whatever that is that you're passionate about, you're able to create a unique product. That's your advantage. But before, you that wasn't enough on how you access your customers. And maybe today, those uh, pipes or channels to reach your customer is far more efficient, and so you don't have to reinvent that.
Yes. Yes, great. So I think thank you for those insights, Vani ma'am, Koshi sir. I think the audience has a lot of more questions addressed to both of you. While we don't, I mean, we are on the top of the hour as well. So while we won't be able to answer all the questions, but we will definitely come back with a separate session wherein we will try to answer most of the questions which have been mentioned here. I would like to request our audience to download the report and go through it, because this is a good insight, a good deep dive into the overall structure of ONDC, and also how Kalari is looking at the startup opportunity which is there in India. Please go through this report. We would love to hear from our audience also in terms of what how insightful the report has been. Any feedback on the report, it would be great learning for us as well. Thank you everybody for joining in today, and thank you so much, Vani ma'am, Koshi sir, for being a part of this panel. This has been a real insightful discussion, and we'll come back with more questions which are coming up. We'll come back to seek answers from you.
Rajita, will you be publishing the answers to some of the key questions that came in the
We,
forums?
uh, we will. We will be publishing the answer. We will be reaching out to both of you separately to kind of get those answers as well for our audience. Thank you so much, and I would like.
Thank you,
Thank you.
sir, for ably leading this, and thank you, Koshi sir. You're under the weather, and yet you made time for the audience. I appreciate and respect that, and thank you, audience, for joining in on this session this early morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Just leave it.